afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the November 6, 2019 Town Board meeting. As you can see, we don't have Laura Jen Smith with us today or Jim Wooten, but please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We start our meetings with an invocation, and today we have with us the Reverend Lorraine DeArmit, a retired United Methodist minister.
Thank you. And I bring greetings from the entire Riverhead Clergy Council, a fine group and very supportive of the town. Let us pray. Most holy God, here we are before you, town officials and community members, the press, business leaders. I ask your blessing on all of us. Incline our spirits that we might serve the greater good, meet our various responsibilities, and set aside personal profit. Incline our hearts that we would function together with as much wisdom as each of us can pull together, that we might work together for the common good, that Riverhead might increasingly be a place of peace and prosperity. We thank you for the great gift of democracy, and I thank you for local democracy in action. Bless all of us and our families, now and always. Amen.
Amen.
And we have a few announcements today. The town's bow hunting program has commenced at EPCAL and the town-owned property on Sound Avenue and Middle Road. Bow hunting shall run until Sunday, December 22nd. At EPCAL, members of the public are advised to stay on the walking path at all times, including pets. And please do not enter the woods where the active deer hunting is taking place. Also, on November 14th at Town Hall at 6:30, we're going to have a public forum on the design about our downtown. This will be an opportunity for residents to take a direct role in deciding the future development of our downtown. You'll be speaking with planners and architects who will be creating the new pattern book for the downtown Riverhead. So I certainly encourage all residents to come and let their voices be heard. A lot of times people, are writing their comments and thoughts about the downtown, but this is your opportunity to be part of the solution. So I really do hope people show up on the 14th. The way it'll work is the company is going to do a short presentation, about 20 minutes or so, explaining the process, and then from there we'll be breaking into groups, which I think is probably more comfortable for most people as far as sharing. Some people don't like to come to the mic. We need to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Can I have a first and second to approve the meetings from the regular town board meeting on October 16th, 2019 at 6 p.m.?
Motion.
Second. Motion approved. And now I'm going to turn over to Julie for correspondence.
Have to have a vote.
Oh.
It was moved and seconded, vote.
Giglio? Thanks, Bob.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Okay, minutes are approved.
Okay.
And now I'll turn over to Julie for correspondence.
Okay, we have Eve Kaplan Welbreck. She sent a letter supporting proposed legislation to restrict parking on Sound Avenue. Michael Farrell from S Power, Riverhead Solar 2, opportunity to submit comments on proposed stipulations. Jamie Pelis sent a letter regarding apartments code enforcement violations. The Landmark Preservation Commission, there were comments regarding proposed changes to chapters 105 and 241. Chris Kent, Farrell Fritz, comments on chapter 301-233, the airport facilities and accessory uses. Robert Giordano, Comments and concerns in regards to the proposed fuel cell at Stop and Shop. Sal Mastropolo shared comments and suggestions to the Riverhead School District pertaining to the facilities presentation. Brian Carroll submitted comments on the 2020 town budget. Wayne River Civic Association comments in support of the public hearing on October 16th, 2019 concerning chapters 301-233, restrictions on helicopters, seaplanes, and aircrafts. Riverhead Chamber of Commerce recommendation to the town board to request a site visit from the Army Corps of Engineers to determine the need for a feasibility study on the Peconic River waterfront. Laura Nicolou Berman comments on town rental laws. R&M Engineering comments on the special permit application of 1535 Old Country Road in Riverhead for the proposed car wash. Toomey Latham sent comments on the special permit application of 1535 Old Country Road, Riverhead for the proposed car wash. We also received reports. The tax receiver September utility collection report was $660,574.22. The town clerk's October monthly report was $11,964.90. Building department October monthly report was $121,269.25.
Thank you, Julie. Now I'd like to go into the CDA meeting. Can I have a motion to close the town board meeting and open the CDA meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Vote, please.
Giglio,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Good afternoon. We have, need a motion to approve the minutes of the CDA regular meeting on October 2nd, 2019.
Motion.
Second.
The vote, Kent,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
The minutes are approved, and then we would open it up to comments from the public on anything relating to the Community Development Agency.
Are there any comments from the public?
Community Development Agency. The Community Development Agency. Any business before the Community Development Agency?
Regarding the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay, want to close the meeting?
Okay, seeing no comments, can I have a motion to close the CDA meeting and open the town board meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Vote, please.
Kent.
Giglio.
You, Julie,
Hubbard,
Dawn does it
Kent.
actually.
Okay.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
The meeting is closed.
We have two public hearings this afternoon, so it is 2:16. Put that down. I'd like to open the public hearing for consideration of a special permit application for 1535 Old Country Road LLC to construct a car wash at 1535 Old Country Road, Riverhead. Bob, can you please announce and describe what this public hearing is about?
Sure. The use is located in a business center use, and as a result, requires an application for a special permit. The particular matter that's before the town board is on property as known as 1535 Old Country Road, Riverhead, New York. It's also known as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-101-2-12.3. The property is, let's see, they're trying to find the size of the property, but I don't see that right now in this notice. But the application has been made by 1535 Old Country Road LLC to demolish a single-family residence that currently exists on the property, as well as a barn, and in its place construct a automated car wash that's going to be approximately 3,809 square feet in size, with a 240 square foot control office, toilet facility, and associated improvements. Since it is a special permit, anybody who's going to come up to speak other than counsel, I am going to ask them to swear under oath that the testimony they're giving is the truth and whole truth. So we'll be prepared to swear to the truth of the application or whatever it is you're gonna make as far as comments with regard to the application that's before you. It is a special permit, so we're judging it upon the criteria in the town code for a special permit.
And I swear to the testimony that I'm going to give. My name is Charles Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y. I have an office at 445 Griffin Avenue, Riverhead, New York. I represent the applicant. With me is the architect, Martin Sendeluski, the traffic engineer, Walter Dunn, the owner of the property, James Wilson. There are others who may speak, and when we get finished, who have some interest in this car wash. As Mr. Kazakevich indicated, it's 3,800 square feet. It's essentially a tunnel type of building. It's in the business center, which is the only zone in the town in which you can have a car wash. After reviewing the plan with the town board at a work session, we have done several things. We've eliminated any work on the adjoining parcel, so we will not be going onto that other side of the property, on their property. We've also expanded the front yards, and we've added some landscaping, and that will be shown, and Mr. Sendeluski will talk about that in a few minutes. There was concern about the other car washes that are in Riverhead. I had given a letter to each of the town board members. I'll hand up one copy of it again, but essentially we've outlined where there are 3 different car washes in the town, one of them in the mobile station, which is a small single unit. One is in the Toyota Enterprise, which is a public place, but it's a hand car wash. And the third is a little more than a mile away, which is a car wash on the east side of the traffic circle. This, though, is different. This is a completely automated car wash. And I'll explain in a minute what really that means. I note that the planning department has prepared an extensive report. I'm going to hand that in to you as part of our record. But in that report, they outline the items to be considered by the board, which is in section 301, 312 of the code. We meet all of those requirements, and we have ourselves prepared a letter through the architect which duplicates in many respects the town planning board's report to you. Again, the town planning board spent many hours and many days going through this application. Originally, it was a larger type of setup that was going to be there. They reduced it to a single car wash. It's on 1.5 acres of land. It's 3,800 square feet, as Mr. Kazakevich pointed out. And the car wash itself is completely automated, meaning that you go into the car wash in your car. You don't get out of your car. You go in the car wash. The beginning, when you actually get to the place where you pay, is also automated. So that you go in, you make your selections, you go through. It's approximately a 3-minute car wash. It's all done inside. It's dried inside, and you're done. You can then go, if you wish to a vacuum area that's outside, but that's separate and apart. Basically, what we have is we have a car wash that's new, that's different, that I think will be appealing to many people. I think that all of our efforts meet the standards that you have set forth in 301, 314, which are the 4 standards that we must adhere to. And I can go through that, but I'll wait until I hear from some other people before explaining that. But I'd like Mr. Sendeluski to go through this with you so you can see the entire site plan.
Yes, and then if you could
One question,
please,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, and then if you could please go through the criteria of the special permit so that the public can hear it, that anybody that may be interested in speaking can address any of those comments that you have with regard to that criteria.
You like me to go through that criteria?
Please.
Okay, I will do that. There are 18 different items. The First item is whether the site is particularly suitable for the location of such use in the community. And our answer is that the site location is surrounded by zones and, by other uses that are commercial in nature, and both east and west and north. South is the industrial C zone. So I think that meets the requirements. The second one is that the plot is sufficient, appropriate, and adequate for the use and reasonably anticipated operation and expansion thereof. Our answer is that the plot is fully sufficient for this use. Is the town required an engineer site plan as opposed to a conceptual plan? We've done that. We have plans. We've given them to you. And we think it meets that second requirement. The third requirement is that the characteristics of the proposed use are not such that its proposed location would be unsuitably near to a church, school, theater, recreational use. None of those are close by. The fourth item is the access facilities are adequate for the estimated traffic from public streets and sidewalks. And I think that our traffic study shows that. I think that we're not going to have traffic congestion. Mr. Dunn is going to speak to that a little bit later. The next item is that all proposed curb cuts and street intersections have been approved by the Street or Highway Agency, and the answer is that the curb cuts are not approved at this time, but will be approved as part of our site plan, because that's a site plan issue. The next is that adequate provisions have been made for emergency conditions, and there is no problem in getting to this site by any emergency vehicle, because it's at 58 in Pulaski, and it's pretty obvious that that's available to all the emergency town facilities. The next item is that there is off-street parking and truck loading spaces, at least in the number required. And certainly, that's not a big problem with this type of activity. So I don't think that that really is applicable to this particular site. The next thing is adequate buffer yards, landscaping, walls, fences, and screening are provided. We've actually increased the amount of landscaping. Certainly with our neighbor, we've increased it. We've also increased the amount of grass area and landscaping, both from 58 and from Pulaski Street. And that's shown on our new site plan. Next item is where necessary, special setbacks, height, building area, coverage requirements, or easements, rights-of-way shall be established. That's, again, not necessarily applicable to this, because there isn't anything that we're doing as far as easements or rights-of-way, with the exception of the one access point that's on the map, which is part of the site plan for the adjoining property.
And it doesn't need any variances for impervious surface or lot coverage?
No, it does not.
Okay.
Next item is where appropriate, a public or semi-public plaza or recreational facility shall be located. There's nothing like that, because this type of application doesn't call for that. And then adequate provisions be made for the collection and disposal of stormwater runoff. We've gone through that with the board. We've made every effort that we can to make sure that the runoff stays on our property. The next item is existing municipal services and facilities are adequate to provide for the needs of the proposed use. That's absolutely so. There's no problem with having any service at this particular site. The next item is the use will tend to generate or accumulate dirt or refuse, and that's not something that's going to happen with a car wash. And so we've indicated that in our plans, and we've indicated that in our statement here, that we will not produce any accumulation of dirt or refuse. The next item, and we're getting close to the end, the construction, installation, or operation of the proposed use is such that there is a need for regulating the hours, days, or similar. There's no problem with the hours for a car wash, and I think that's somewhat obvious. Finally, we get down to the last 3 or 4 items here. The proposed use recognizes and provides for the further special conditions and safeguards required for particular uses as may be determined by the town board or planning board. And so we're open to having any conditions that are reasonable that affect this property. Finally, the design, layout, and contours of all roads and rights-of-way encompassed within the site of the application are adequate and meet town specifications. There are no interior roads that are required. Adequate provision has been made for the collection and disposal of solid waste. The answer is yes. We'll have a dumpster, but certainly there's not going to be a great deal of solid waste that are at this site. And finally, the intensity of the proposed specially permitted use is justified in light of similar uses within the zoning district. And of course, this is exactly the type of thing we're talking about, because we're talking about a car wash in the business center district where it's supposed to be. So those are the items, the 18 items, that are part of what the board considers in any special permit. And I think they apply particularly to this, and I think that this application meets all of those requirements.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cuddy.
One procedural issue, I'm not sure if it was, I missed it, the affidavit of posting and.
Yes, I gave those to the town clerk this morning.
Okay, so
Both.
those are part of it.
They are,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay, very good.
I would like to hand up, if I may, copies of the report that I've just gone through, which is copies of the staff report, copies of the Sendelowski report, which is what I've just read. And so I'd like those to be made part of the record also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Direction from the board?
No, no.
All right. So they will be, so made part of the record.
And the clerk had also mentioned that there was a letter in correspondence from R&M Engineering dated November 4th, and they had requested that that be part of the record also. So if you can include that in the record, please.
Swear the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Martin Sendelowski, I'm the architect for the applicant. This particular application, as with any other special permit application under SECR, actually goes through a more extended review. We have planning review for site plan, and we have the review for the special permit. When we started the review, we started with a site plan that included additional uses. There was the car wash, and there were a couple of other uses on the site, because the site could accommodate it and meet the zoning. I would note that this particular site plan, as it is engineered now, does comply with all zoning regulations with regard to dimensional requirements, et cetera. So there are no variances required. We're in full compliance with zoning. As we went through the process, there were a number of issues that were brought up with regard to the intensity of the use. The car wash and the additional uses, having multiple people coming for different functions on the site, it was indicated to us by the planning staff that the use would be too intense possibly for a special permit. So what we had done at that time is we basically re-engineered the project. We eliminated the other uses, which are permitted uses that we could have included, and we utilized the site just for the current car wash site plan that is before you for the special permit. Basically what we did is we mitigated all of those concerns. During that process, we went through, even though the town code for a special permit is very clear, the requirements for a special permit only require a conceptual site plan, because basically the special permit is about use and about intensity of use. The town has taken a position which they would rather we go through engineering of the site with site plan concurrently, which is, you know, a little bit more involved in terms of cost, and you do the full engineering. So not only is this a conceptual plan, but we've gone through and we've done a complete engineered plan that has been reviewed by the planning staff. And Riverhead has a very good planning staff, very thorough. We went through it on multiple revisions with Ms. Gluth and Mr. Murphy on a number of occasions. And we've accommodated or mitigated any issues that had arisen. During that review, we did put forth our review of the requirements that Mr. Cuddy went through. And I would note that with regard to the staff report to the town board for the special permit dated October 7th, 2019, that correspondence from the planning department basically concurs everything that we had put forth and all of the mitigation measures that we had taken forth and all of the evaluations we have done. So basically, the planning department, based on a fully engineered site plan, has concurred that we have mitigated any concerns that they have from a planning standpoint. Subsequent to that, prior to the notice of publication for this hearing, we had met with the town board at a work session to review the application to move to this meeting. There were a few additional concerns that were raised at that meeting. What we have done in response to that is, and we'd gotten a copy to the planning staff, is we made some changes to the site plan that are very simple. We didn't redesign the site plan. Everything stays basically the way that it was, but we made some very simple adjustments. One adjustment we made, and this is a copy of the site plan here, and Arthur, could you hand those copies up? I have a reduced copy, 11 by 17 copy of the site plan. It's just easier for you to refer to as we're going through it. That's a half-scale copy of this drawing right here. The changes that we had made include along the eastern property line right here. We moved the entire development of the site 7 feet further westward. So now, instead of the minimum 5-foot setback, we have a 12-foot setback on our property line to the east, which allowed us to maintain the existing trees and landscaping along that side. We've included a small retaining wall that runs along our queuing driveway to accommodate keeping the existing trees. There's one tree that's very big, it's a 54-inch diameter triple tree that's being saved. Basically, the retainage that would be there would be identical, a mirror image of the retainage that is on the Riverhead Bay Motor site, which was developed with similar grades. So it would be this matching image of that on our property. So basically, all of the concerns about landscaping and having a potential effect on adjacent properties has been completely mitigated and is now gone. Another concern that was brought up was, not a concern, but just really a question as to what would be the front yard here. Would it be 58 or would it be Pulaski? What we then did is, based on the way our site plan was laid out, is that along Pulaski Street, on the bottom of the page, what we did is we were only 5 feet away from the 35-foot buffer required for a front yard. So we also took the entire engineered plan and we slid it 5 feet northward. So now, both the Pulaski Street frontage and the County Road 58 frontage both fully comply with a front yard requirement, regardless of which is considered the front yard. That added landscaping, added more green space by having us pull the development further away from Pulaski Street. Lastly, Arthur, can you switch the page? The second page that you have, which is basically it's the same site plan, but this is our grading and drainage plan. One thing that we did add, and it's actually, I'm sort of glad it came up because we now are going to utilize this as a standard for site plans that we submit. What we did up here, if you look, you'll see a profile of the drainage structures on site, which is a typical detail. And there's a reference to each drainage area on the site plan. What we now have done, and we're going to do this on all our site plans from now on, we actually have a chart next to the drainage detail, and it references every drainage area, and it gives the invert of the curb inlet. It gives the invert of the pipe coming out of the curb inlet. It gives the invert into the drainage structure, as well as the inverts into the overflow drainage structures. So all of the inverts are here, along with the minimum separation from groundwater, the size of the structures, et cetera. So the issue that was brought up, because you do have some areas where the drain was lower than the cover on some of the pools. What they do there is they just basically put on collars and they drop the pool, deeper. But that is now all detailed in the site plan, so all of those matters are right on. I mean, we have a chart. We have every invert for every pool on the site, so that mitigated those concerns. So with that, what had happened is we were also able to maintain additional trees on Pulaski Street. There are existing trees there. So we have maintained, I think, approximately 7 of the major trees on the site. Along Pulaski, there's one up in the front yard, up by 58, and now the trees along the eastern property line. With that, I would just say that in the October 17th correspondence from Karen Gluth to the town board, it clearly notes that any issues that did come up, any minor adjustments or anything we had to do could be addressed, or would be addressed, be required to be addressed prior to the site plan approval process, which we still have to go through with the planning board, and eventually a building permit. So we feel that everything has been completed, and we feel that the planning department, with the tremendous job that they do very thoroughly, they're very helpful to us in going through these matters and pointing out these issues, concurs that this plan has been developed to an extent where it would qualify for the special permit and eventual site plan approval. Thank you.
Marty, you said that you're able to retain a lot of the trees. How many trees did have to come down? Do have to?
There are trees on the site, more toward the middle of the property, like in the backyard by the house. The trees in the center of the site would still go away. We would keep the trees along the eastern property line, right next to the Riverhead Bay Motor Site. There's that row of trees, that would be maintained. The one tree in the front and 4 or 5 trees, I think it's 5 trees along Pulaski Street, including some trees that are as far back as 30 feet from Pulaski Street. The bigger ones along Pulaski, those will all be maintained. So.
And then where is the, I don't see where it's indicated on the plan itself, where which stormwater area is the one that is on the southeast corner of the site?
Southeast
Wait.
corner.
Or, I'm sorry,
Southwest.
southwest corner,
Southwest.
where you have the French drain.
That was the one with the single drain. That is stormwater area 3 at the bottom. 1. Oh, do you mean the one right at the road, or the one
Yes, at
on the site?
Pulaski Street, right at the road, because
The
that's
one
where I'm
at the
concerned.
road is Storm 1A. So Storm 1, if you look at this storm drainage data, Storm Area 1 is the one with the 12 pools. That's the one closest to the entrance, but in the parking area. And then the 1A is the curb inlet and the one single pool down right at the intersection of Pulaski Extension and the access driveway to the property. Jody would be right here. There's a inlet right here at the property line because that
That's
driveway
1A?
does slope down. So there's an inlet here with a single drain. There's a high point right at the head of this driveway.
I
So-
see the drain.
So you're only picking up this little driveway. So there's one drain here and a pool here, and that is listed as drainage area 1A. You'll see that 1A has only one pool.
Yes.
That's that area. And the inverts are on the detail up above. Actually, we have one. You're talking about the inverts on the chart. I see what you're talking about. I'm gonna include those inverts on the chart that's on the detail. I don't see 1A on the chart with each individual one with the invert, so we'll add that. So,
Yeah, my concern is that the lowest point of the property is the southwest corner, and there is a wetland right across the street, and you're going from an elevation of 31 at the easterly side of the property down to an elevation of 22. So my concern is that the speed of that water, and whether or not these drainage structures that are in this parking area are gonna be able to capture all that.
Yeah, I mean, we have it calculated, we have all the high points, all the footages are on there. That has gone through engineering review. I know that the planning staff has looked at it, as well as the town engineer. I mean, it meets the code. It meets all of the code for stormwater runoff. And
Code is
again,
for 2-inch?
that is
2-inch
correct.
rainfall?
And I will say one other thing, because of the fact that some of the drains are higher, they require an area where some of them, they'll actually put a collar on the drain, so that if the drainage structure filled up, including the curb inlet right up to the grate, there's actually a lot more capacity that's not in the calculation, that's in the structures also, just as an overflow. I think it's probably about 15 to 20% of actually additional capacity, just based on, you don't calculate that, you only calculate based on the bottom of the invert of the drain structure down, but the drain The drain pipes themselves are 12 inches, so you have the drainage structure by another 12 inches of height. Some of them are only 4-foot pools, so that's a 25% increase in actual volume. So there is additional volume there than is required by code for storm drainage.
Karen, did you wanna add to that or comment on that?
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Marty.
I'm gonna ask you to do the same thing. Do you swear testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Marty, when did you submit that, where's Marty? The revised plan?
I think we dropped off, Arthur, the plan, we dropped off the revised plan to the plan. Yeah, I don't recall when.
Okay, cause I don't
didn't see
recall getting it, so, it may very well have corrected several items, but until I look at it, I
Okay.
don't know for sure. So I just wanted to say that. And we had gone over certain possible conditions of a special permit resolution when we met. So I don't wanna, reiterate anything, but I just wanted to say I hadn't looked at the latest plans, so I can't really confirm what's been corrected or not.
Can you confirm about the tree clearing, or you need to see the revised one?
Right, I'd have to look at the plans. And I'm sorry if you gave it in, but I don't recall seeing it, so.
Yeah, basically, it's an improvement on the previous plan, clarification, just better detail and more, better improvements of the previous plan.
Swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And state your name for the record.
My name is Walter Dunn. My firm's name is Dunn Engineering Associates, located at 66 Main Street, West Hampton Beach, New York. I was engaged to prepare a traffic impact study to determine the impact on the surrounding street and highway network of the proposed development. And we've had this traffic impact into the town. It's been reviewed, and there's been questions about it too, and we've addressed it. In essence, we really prepared probably about 3 traffic impact studies for this project, because we did one for each one of the proposed plans that was submitted. So initially it was for a restaurant with retail stores and a car wash, then it got down to the car wash, which was the one that we provided the traffic impact study on. And then again, as the size of the car wash got reduced, we made revisions and we put together a letter. Now, in all fairness, after the work session that we had on October 10th, as we went outside in the hallway, Ms. Gluth asked us to put in writing some of the responses that we gave verbally at the work session. So I prepared the letter immediately, I finished it on the 11th, and unfortunately, we submitted it to our internal team to review it and to get their comments, to get the go-ahead, to see if there was any changes that we had to put into it. So inadvertently, this letter never got submitted to the town, but it addressed all the comments that we reviewed verbally at the work session. So I'd like to present that, one copy or more copies, how many would you like? One
Yes.
copy?
Yep.
There was also another letter that we sent to Marty, and that was in relation to questions about the grades along the Pulaski Street and Pulaski Street Extension. And that, I don't know, Charles, was that made part of the record? No, okay. I think I brought one copy of that too here. Let me pull that out.
You might have gone to planning too. Bob, you'll go to planning too, right?
Well, it's a special permit, so it's really town board, but it should be circulated
Did
with
you get
everybody.
that, Karen? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one? The
The letter you have right now about the grading.
This is the May 22nd, 2019 letter, so I believe it has been seen. I think think that brings us back to all the official documents are now submitted and responded to all the comments. Essentially, rather than talk about all the aspects of the traffic impact study today, I'd rather just hit on some of the highlights. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to come back and look at them. Essentially, the major part of our aspect was to go through a series of steps to determine the impact on the surrounding street and highway network. One of the first steps we looked at was the access plan for the site, and we proceeded to give our comments for each stage of redevelopment of the site as it went down to its final car wash use. And as Marty showed on his presentation here, there are actually two access points to the site. One on what we call Pulaski Street Extension, south of County Road 58 on the east side of the street, and then on the north side of Pulaski Street, the east-west Pulaski Street, towards the easterly end of that site. In addition, based upon requests from the town, we showed an easement connecting over to the car dealership to the east, and that's closer to County Road 58. And we did that because it was part of the state and the county's and the town's access management plan. And the concept was there was 2 points of the access management plan. First, it's a beneficial because this site only has 2 access points that are not on County Road 58. There are no access points on County Road 58 to the car wash. And that's generally required, and the purpose of it is the state, the county want to take the primary road so there's no side friction being added into the site by people coming out, in and out, entering to the site and creating slowdowns on the major street, in this case, County Road 58. So we're in compliance with the access management plan from that standpoint by providing the easement to the east to connect, which our understanding was part of a prior approval for the property to the east, that they would allow a future access to the property to the west, which is our subject property. So we did that. But in looking at it, during the work session, there was some comments made that we really need that easement plan. And of course, we provided it to satisfy what the town was looking for, because the easement, the access management plan, the concept is if somebody was exiting from the car wash and wanted to go to the east and wanted to enter into either the dealership next door or the Lowe's beyond that to the east, they would not have to enter onto County Road 58 by making a right turn out of the site. That could slow traffic down a little bit, and then they proceed as they accelerate to the east on County Road 58. They then have to slow down to make a right turn into the adjacent properties. So the plan and the purpose of the access management plan is a good one. But after hearing some of the comments from at the work session, I went back and took another look at it. And I found out again that this property is unique in its location because it fronts on County Road 58, but it has a border on the west side of Pulaski Street Extension and on the south side by Pulaski Street. So in the past, the planning department from the town has had the good wisdom to make sure that those 2 adjacent parcels are having access to not only County Road 58, but also to Pulaski Street. So in this case, instead of having to have that easement, if the town wants the easement, obviously we've shown that we're ready to do that. But if there was any consideration, the uniqueness of the property is that somebody can exit from the car wash on Pulaski Street or on Pulaski Street Extension, and they could head east on Pulaski Street, and they could enter into those 2 properties by the access points on the north side of Pulaski Street. So in essence, it accomplishes the same functions as would be required by the access management plan of having a series of interconnected properties. I'm just presenting that as a result of the questions and discussions that were at the work session. Again, we're providing it. We have no objection to providing it, but we wanted to let you know that we looked at it and we feel that the access management plan, if it was in the wisdom of the town, decided that they didn't want to have that access easement, that there's still a way of accomplishing that goal of the access management without having it. Okay?
The problem I see with that is you have vehicles going to be exiting the car wash property onto the car dealership ultimately, or in reality, the car dealership, it's their showroom that they're gonna be driving through, because the cars are parked in stalls on the lot. So if people are out looking at vehicles, they now have to worry about traffic shooting through from the car wash across into the car dealership and further down to the Mexican restaurant and further down to Lowe's. So to me, that creates a bit of a safety problem.
We agree. So we looked at that for that particular reason. You know, it's not, in my opinion, it's not in the ideal spot to have a connection. And two, the existing use of the property to the east is really for looking at some of the cars in the lot there, and it could be concerned by them as a possible a problem, although they've agreed to having that access as part of their approval. So we
Understood.
just wanted to mention that and bring it to the board's attention. Okay?
So, my question for you is on Pulaski Street, there's a stop sign on Pulaski Street as you're headed westbound.
Correct.
And then when you go to make a turn onto Pulaski Street Extension, that point of ingress and egress on Pulaski Street Extension, to me, still looks problematic in that when you're at the stop sign at the radius and you go to make that right-hand turn to head northbound, that how far is that entrance from the intersection, from that corner over there?
That's a good question. I think, Marty, was that moved? 35 feet. Okay, thank you.
35 feet from the property line, so it would be approximately 45 feet from the Pulaski Street
Curb.
edge of roadway.
Okay.
So, in your opinion, as far as being a traffic engineer, do you think that that could be problematic if this person that's at this stop sign headed westbound on Pulaski Street, and there's a car coming from the other direction, so they're looking at the car that's coming from the other direction, and they see that car's going this way and they're not making a left, and they make the right turn, and there's a car coming out of the car wash onto Pulaski Street Extension. Do you think that that's problematic? I mean,
I don't think it's a major concern here for several reasons, all right? One is that the amount of traffic that's generated by this proposed use, and we're talking about the reduced size of it, of the 3,098?
but you have a queue for 24 cars.
Okay, well, that's interior. So talking exterior still, if I can still address your point, all right? So that's factor number one. The major factor is that if you look at a traffic assignment that we have, in other words, we look to determine the amount of traffic being generated, then we do a directional distribution to determine which way we feel, based upon existing traffic flow, that the vehicles will be coming to enter into and exit out of the site. And in this case, we have not only the access point on the Pulaski Street Extension, but we have the one on Pulaski Street. So if anybody was coming on Pulaski Street from east of the site, they would be coming, and the majority of that traffic would be making a right turn into the site at the access point on Pulaski Street. They would not continue up to its intersection with Pulaski Street Extension and then make the right. We did include one vehicle doing that to make that turn, but
I'm
that's what
talking
we're
about-
talking about.
I'm talking about the exit on Pulaski Street Extension. If a car is pulling out of the car wash onto Pulaski Street Extension, do you think that this person at the stop sign that may not be paying attention to whether or not anybody's exiting out, that 45 feet is enough distance for them to see that the car is there and pulling out onto Pulaski Street Extension?
Yes, they should be able to see it because there's no obstructions at the intersection.
Well, there is a
going-
big tree in front of the stop sign.
Right, but again, what's happening here is you're coming up with a hypothetical situation first.
I
And I share your concern, and we try to look at all those things, but we can never predict exactly the independent motions of the driver of the vehicle, you know. It goes into more of a social, psychiatric evaluation at
Well, I'm just asking
times.
you if you think that
Well,
45
I
feet is
think I
a safe
answered that.
distance.
Yes, it's a safe distance, and it's based upon the location of it away from the intersection, the fact that you're coming from a stop position to proceeding ahead, and to be able to see the visibility, and based upon the small number of vehicles that are entering and exiting the site.
I'm more concerned about the ones exiting the site onto
Okay, right.
Pulaski Street Extension. But thank you, you've
Okay,
answered my question.
okay. All right, welcome. Okay. I think Marty hit most of the other points about the queuing, I think we had an over-design for the amount of queuing for it. The letter of October 11th, we addressed the different aspects that that Karen Guth had brought up about the differences in the number of vehicles that may be generated by the site. And that was based upon the old over 5,000 square foot amount that we had in the traffic impact study compared to the 3,000 square foot for the car wash. And it also had information that she presented based upon the manufacturer's estimate of how many cars they can handle in an hour, which was not applicable to the amount of vehicles that would be generated from the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation report. So I think we've addressed it all in the October 11th letter. Of course, we're not running away. Karen, we're around to talk to you about if there's any other points that you want to bring up. We did show, as a result of all the information that we did here, is that based upon the counts we did and the capacity analysis, that there would be no additional major traffic impact that would result based upon the operation of the car wash. The other things that we pointed out in the report, just to bring back, is that there's a question of was there a need to prepare a traffic impact study? Now, we did it, obviously, all right? But if this was a state roadway instead of a county roadway, the state would not request or require a traffic impact study if the amount of vehicles generated per hour by the proposed development is less than 100 vehicles. In this case, it certainly was. It was 27 enter and 27 exit in the peak hours. So a total of 54 vehicles entering and exiting the site. So that, under the state's warrants, would show that we didn't have to do a traffic impact study. The second thing we do is we use a rule of thumb that traffic engineers have. And that is, if the amount of traffic generated by the proposed use, when it's added into the total amount of traffic entering the intersection as it exists now, is less than a 5% addition, there's no reason to do any of the capacity analysis of the signalized intersection. And we did do it, though, and it showed that it was about between 2 and 3.5%. So that would have showed there was no need to do as much detail as we did in a traffic impact study. But again, we did it. So when we did it, we did the capacity analysis. It showed that the level of service that would result under the building of the car wash would have, that the levels of service remain the same. It would result in good levels of service, which are levels of service A and B, which is excellent levels of service. So we think we've addressed all the aspects, and I guess that completes my presentation. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Just, I'm going to agree with Tim. I have concerns about the exiting into the car dealership. I think that
I'm sorry.
that's problematic.
Absolutely. That one is why we took another look at it.
And Karen, did you have more to add? Also, I don't understand, seems like you didn't get all the documents. Seems as though you have not had the.
Yeah, let me tell you what happened again. So, obviously, I was going away on vacation on that Saturday the 12th, so I wanted to make sure I got that letter done immediately. So after I left here, and we met in the hallway, and you said, could you put that in writing? I said I'd be happy to. So I went back and I did that, and then on Friday the 11th, I then submitted it to our internal team to see if I covered all the points that were presented at the work session. And they were supposed to get back to me or forward it on, and that never happened. So I apologize for that. It was not a deliberate, it was an inadvertent action that happened.
So you're submitting that letter for the first time today, is what you said, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Well, I was also-
just to be clear, there's two letters that have been submitted to
Right.
be made part of record.
Sure.
There's a May 22nd, 2019 letter that was from Dunn to Martin Sinlewski that's being added part of record. And then there's the October 11th, 2019 letter to Karen Gluth that's being asked to be made part of the record today. So those will be part of the record, and if anybody wants to get copies of those or receive copies of them in order to provide further comment, because I assume you're going to leave it open for written comment until next Friday at least,
Yeah.
can get those items.
And again, my last statement would be, I think there was a very close working relationship with the planning department on this project, and I thought that the planning group did a fantastic job on it, so just wanted to make sure that everybody realized that.
Yeah, and I was, aside from Mr. Dunn, I was also referring to, I don't think you had time to review the revised site plan either, correct?
I don't know if I got it or not.
Jeff, do you know if that came into the planning department? Pardon me?
Yeah, I would just like to address that. Basically, the revision that we're talking about, we're at stage one of a two-stage process. Stage one being the special permit for the use, which is what we're here for. As far as the site engineering, which those matters with regard to the drainage, et cetera, are part of, they would be addressed. We did this in response to the work session. So after this meeting, we would then provide final revisions to the planning department for them to review and then move to a public hearing for the site plan. So basically, the changes that we've done were from the work session. We, again, moved the property, the development westward to allow for the trees along the property line to stay. We moved it northward to allow the trees along Pulaski to stay. And those were very positive changes, as well as clarifying all the drainage. So those were things that we sent a copy to planning just so they had a heads up on it. But really, after this meeting is when we'd go back to them with additional engineering. It's very simple to look at. You simply got a 12-foot side yard to the east instead of 5, and more trees. You have a 35-foot setback from Pulaski instead of 25 with more trees, and you got all your drainage confirmed that it meets code. It's really that simple. There's not much of a change here. Probably with a cup of coffee, Karen could look at it and say, yeah, exactly what he said is what works. Nothing else engineering-wise change on the site.
One last comment. It's in the traffic impact study, but I just wanted to point it out to you. One of the things that we did in it was we compared the amount of traffic generated by the proposed car wash to other permitted uses. And one was a convenience store, and the second one was a specialty retail center, which you could consider a strip center, right? And it showed that those other permitted uses would generate more traffic than the proposed car wash. And so that was just a point I'd like to end my statements with. Thank you. Okay, Karen.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the cross-access to the car dealership. There already is cross-access between Lowe's, Chipotle, and the car dealership. And it seems to be working okay, as far as I can see. And that's why we wanted to continue it on to the car wash and Pulaski Street. The Chief Fire Marshal also said he wanted that cross-access for access to the east side of the car wash. So, if for some reason the town board doesn't want the cross-access for regular vehicles, then at least it should be built out for emergency access.
That makes sense.
Forgive me, I was looking through my notes from the work session, and I did see that that at least some on the board had wanted me to send the traffic impact statement to DPW, and I thought I had already, but I can certainly do that. I think it was more of a general concern about the timing of the traffic signal. So
And the lining up, because the
Right.
left-hand turn is going directly into oncoming traffic, so.
yeah, and I can certainly do that, make
And
sure they
whether or not a
received
signal,
it,
a
see if they
turning-
have anything else to say.
Okay, and then the sidewalks we were discussing also?
The sidewalks would be partially on private property, and typically, there's a dedication done when they're on private property.
So you would because I didn't see the sidewalks on Pulaski Street or Pulaski Street extension.
Well, they were on there, last I saw, so,
Did you get a copy that he gave out today?
no, I don't have a copy of that. Okay. Yeah, there are sidewalks on this.
Oh, there, wait.
Yep.
Thank you, Karen. Was there anyone else from the public that wanted to comment?
Boy, it's not labeled that it's a sidewalk.
No, it's
It
not
says
like
lawn
that.
area.
It is. And this facade area, yeah.
Swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay. And your name for the record?
James Wilson. I am one of the owners of the property on the southeast corner of Pulaski Street and Route 58. My family has owned this property since the 1920s. My family has attempted to sell this property for years. The size, location, and zoning requirements make this property difficult to develop. This buyer has proposed a site plan and use that is suited for this property. Our family asks that you approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more comments from the public? Bob?
Swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And your name, please.
Patrick Marin. I spoke a few weeks ago when the resolutions came up. Before I really speak to my points, I just want to respectfully respond to a couple of things that have already been presented here. From my viewpoint, I did a FOIL request on this project, and a couple of things that have been said. Respectfully, I may be wrong, I'm a layman, but these are my understandings of some things, so I just want to comment on them. Mr. Cuddy had mentioned that there were 3 car washes, Toyota, Mobile, and the Riverhead Car Auto Wash. Apple Honda has a car wash. I have handouts of the websites of all the car washes on 58. So there is another car wash there. They'll be surprised to know that the public doesn't know there's one, because I've got their menu board right here. So I'd like to submit for the record details for all the car washes on 58. One of the conditions that was mentioned, I find to be most difficult here. Mr. Cuddy read through, I think, 18 different conditions that he felt met it. And in that code, 301-312, section R, it says that the intensity of the proposed specialty permitted use is justified in light of similar uses within the zoning district. Respectfully, in 1.8 miles, we already have 4 car washes. So I don't think there is a justification to add 1 more car wash in 1.8 miles. He speaks about the car wash that is literally next door at the mobile gas station as being a single-use car wash where people stay in the car. Sounds an awful lot like what's proposed there, an automatic car wash where the person pays in the car, stays in the car, and drives away. So you have one that's literally right next door from it. They're asking for a special permit. Special permit is required for this application. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be here today, it'd be in front of the planning board. So, my question is, what extenuating circumstances exist that screams for another car wash to be added? Geez, we really need 5 car washes in 1.8 miles on County Road 58. We need 5. 4 is not enough. Maybe we need 6. I just think that at some point, when do we say, you're asking for a special circumstance to be granted to you for this property that is not zoned for that? My wife and I bought a car wash 3 years ago. 3 of our 4 children work that car wash. I employ 40 people that pay taxes in this town. Last year I paid $43,000 in property taxes to the town for that car wash. I did not anticipate that someone would try to convert a parcel that is not zoned for a car wash to ask for an application for that. I've sat in town board meetings before where I've heard people complain about the overbuilding of big boxes on County Road 58. They came and then they went. We have a bunch of empty buildings there. I think everybody in good town governance looked at it at the time and said, this is a good idea, we're building up. But in hindsight, we see a lot of empty buildings. I think part of good government is to say, how do we best serve our community? And that's not with more empty buildings. That's not by overbuilding similar businesses in the same stretch of property by issuing a special permit. And I ask that the town board consider that. Why should we look at this and find that there is an extenuating circumstance that says we need to have this? I said last time, I think it'd be nice if Riverhead had one movie theater. I don't think they need two movie theaters. If this property was asking to build another aquarium, the public would laugh. We don't need another aquarium. I'm here to say that 4 car washes in 1.8 miles, which I think is one every 1,600 feet, is quite enough. And I'm asking you to reject this application. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have any questions for me? May I submit this for the record? The
Yes.
Swear the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Okay, your name for the record, sir?
My name's Joe Zaremba. I live at 1391 Pulaski Street, approximately 200 feet from the parcel that's shown on the chart. I think part of the traffic problem that has not been considered is that the car dealership, which is directly across from me on the north side of Pulaski Street, regularly has car transport trucks deliver cars to the dealership. Sometimes as many as 3 transport trucks parked on the curb on the north side of Pulaski Street. The trucks alone are a problem, but when they unload the cars, now they have to back off the transport truck, turn into the traffic lanes to go in the back gate of the car dealership. If you go to the Pulaski Street extension and you make a left and you go up the hill to Pulaski Street, you are invisible until you crest the hill. I've seen many times where the car transports are pulling the car off, they go to turn, the guy has to slam on the brakes because somebody comes up over the top of the hill. In addition, when the car transport trucks are there, they occupy part of the traffic lane. There's not enough of a shoulder for them to park on. So oncoming traffic from the east side has to go into the eastbound lanes to drive around the transport trucks. I think the additional traffic from this car wash, there's going to be a fatal accident. It's inevitable, and I would hate to see that in front of my house. That's the comment I wanted to make, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like just to address for a moment the remarks that were made by the former speaker, who has the car wash. First of all, in the letter that we sent to you, we did note the Honda site, but the Honda site, to the best of our knowledge, is not open to the public. So that's why I didn't address it as one of the car washes. And I believe that's accurate. But I'd like to get to this question of competition. First of all, there's nothing in the town code, and there never has been zoning-wise, that talks about the economics. We're not here about economics, we're here about use. And I find it odd that somebody comes up here and says to the board that I'm afraid of competition. On Pulaski Street in Harrison, we teach that competition is the crux of capitalism. And yet we have somebody telling us, don't compete. I didn't see pickets by McDonald's at Popeyes. I didn't see Stop and Shop say to ShopRite, don't come. I participated in the Home Depot years ago. And as you remember, the Riverhead Building Supply, Griffin Hardware, certainly the iconic hardware store, and Revco all said that was going to destroy them. They're all here today. In fact, the building supply has increased. So when you talk about competition, I think in fairness, everybody should expect competition. Mr. Kazakevich and I cannot say no more lawyers. It just is something we don't do, and we shouldn't do.
Maybe.
Motion? Oh, sorry.
And maybe we'll start that. But Competition is what is part of how we get here. The telephone was invented 143 years ago. We now have telephones that we walk around with all the time. It's improved because there was competition amongst a number of companies when it was finally broken up. And that's what we are. I mean, that's part of what we do. But economics is not part of the special permit. It's not one of the 18 criteria. It's not in the code, and it never has been. So I'm upset when somebody says, don't compete with me because I want to be here, but I don't want you to be here. That's not what we do. Thank you.
If it was zoned for it, that'd be a different story. It's not zoned for it. They're asking for a special permit for it. I never once said that I'm afraid of competition in an area that's already properly zoned for it. They're asking for a special permit. If one was not required, they'd be before the planning board, not the town board, asking for that. In regards to Honda, one look no further than what I did. Go on their website, you see car wash services. It's in what I supplied to the record. They are open to the public, the prices are listed. So that's not factual statement. They're asking for a special permit. They're not asking for a building that's across the street that was already zoned for it. So I take objection to the gentleman's words.
Testimony, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name is Al Carabas. I live in Blue Point, New York. I'm hoping to be one of the operators if this project gets approved. I would
Can you
then...
spell your last name for us, please?
C-A-R-R-A-B-I-S. Sorry, I have some laryngitis.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make some comments that if we were to be the operator, I wanted to talk to Mike, the current owner in Riverhead. My grandfather started washing cars in 1947. I'm third generation. I've owned 26 car washes on Long Island. I've dealt with all the towns, the villages, municipalities, CPA, environmental. We help, we don't hurt. My kids are on Long Island. I have car washes from Hampton Bays to Staten Island. We proved this model. We already did it in Comac, Long Island, West Islip that opened 6 months ago, and Lindenhurst shortly. This isn't going to be competition for Mike. The public doesn't know that the average person only washes their car 2 times a year. This isn't about competition with amongst each other. This is amongst educating the customers to take care of their vehicles and wash their cars. He's a full-service model with a detail shop. The model that we already did on Long Island that we propose to do in Riverhead, hopefully, is an express model where you sit in the car. The reason why we developed this is to get people in and out quickly. We don't want to have traffic jams. We don't want to have chemicals on the property. We want to keep everything contained inside the tunnel. So the cars that go by, you only lift about 1% of them to wash. These are metrics. These aren't my beliefs. They're not Mike's beliefs. These are normal numbers. 1% passing by washes their car. So there's enough for all of us, just like Mr. Charles Cuddy said, that it's not about competition. It's about just trying to educate the public and get more people in. Would it be fair to say that there could only be one hamburger place on the road when there's probably 9 of them on 58? And I beg to differ with Mike about the Honda dealership. I personally went into the Honda dealership. They wouldn't wash my car because I wasn't having service that day. They told me it was not open to the public. And the car wash that's right next to us, just so everyone knows the difference, the tunnel's about 20 feet long. It's called a rollover unit where the car goes in and it kind of goes around the car. It's not a thorough job. They were developed to put in gas stations. That gas station has been purchased by a big group called Bola, Harry Singh. He owns about 50 locations on Long Island. His model is to take that site, put a tremendous amount of pumps and a very big convenience store. I don't think that car wash is going to survive with his plan because I don't think there'll be room for it and there won't be setbacks to meet the town requirements. So that car wash, I can tell you right now, is gone. Everyone knows Bola. You drive around, you see Bola markets. He's into C-stores and gas pumps. He's not into car washing. And I hope Mike feels comfortable that he's going to be the only full-service car wash and detail center. We're not getting involved in that. We don't do vacuuming. We don't do windows. We don't do detailing. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have some other speakers. I'm not sure. You guys want to speak?
I just want to add one point of clarity. With regard to zoning, this actually is a permitted use. If it was not a permitted use in the zone, we would go to the zoning board for a use variance. It's a permitted use that requires a special permit. The reason for the special permit is to take an additional look at issues that may affect adjoining properties, et cetera, so that mitigation can be designed into the project for it to fit into its surroundings. So it is a permitted use by zoning. It just has to go through an additional step to mitigate any potential impacts.
Swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Phil Hayes, Bola Oil. Just in contrast to what was just said, we have absolutely no plans to eliminate that car wash. We're actually investing in it. In the current facility, current structure, we're going to upgrade the equipment, so it's there to stay. It is not going away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Martin Finnegan, Toomey, Latham Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Carteraro, 33 West Second Street.
I was swearing anyway, since we've followed that with Mr. Cuddy. Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Once again, Martin Finnegan, Toomey, Latham, 33 West Second Street, Riverhead, New York. I am here today representing Riverhead Poo LLC, which is the owner of the adjacent property on which the Riverhead Bay Motors dealership is operated. I'm joined today by Anthony Morrow, who's the manager of the dealership, as well as Jeff Lazarchuk, who is an engineer from R&M, and Bob Esnard, who is here on behalf of the owner of the property. We have submitted a letter. I believe it was referenced in the town board's correspondence list. I just wanted to make sure that that letter also becomes part of the record of this proceeding today. I just want to briefly hit on some points. Councilman Hubbard was good enough to steal a little bit of my thunder today. Riverhead Poo is not opposed to a car wash or to the development of the site. They recognize that business growth in the town of Riverhead is good for everyone. But this cross-access is really of critical concern to the dealership. Yes, as the town board may be aware, as a condition of Riverhead Poo's earlier site plan approval, they did agree, they did covenant to allow for this future access if it was deemed necessary. We respectfully submit that under the circumstances here, it is not. And as a matter of fact, it will have a direct and negative impact on the dealership operations and will create a significant safety hazard to the dealership customers. Their site plan approval, our site plan approval for the dealership, has created the area where the proposed cross-access might be and has approved it as the display area. It's essentially an extension of the interior showroom. And as everyone knows, when you're car shopping, obviously families are walking around that lot, kids are running around, look at the red one, look at the blue one, and we have significant concerns. So what would be proposed here is to essentially turn what is an approved display area on an existing site plan, an existing site, into a roadway, which is essentially not workable. If you look at the planning board staff report that was shared with the town board, there's a photograph on page 6 of that report, which essentially shows this front area where the cars are displayed, and it's directly at the point where that access would come through if it were opened, and it clearly is not workable. In contrast to Lowe's and Chipotle, where those cross-access areas are there, and customers of those establishments are not shopping in the parking lot. Okay, they're not out there. You're not getting your burrito in the middle of Chipotle's parking lot. So this issue was not of a concern then, and it clearly is a concern here. As to the issue of emergency access, clearly Riverhead Poo is sensitive to any issue involving safety That's our biggest issue here today and our biggest concern. We believe that the configuration of the proposed site, the way that the traffic is going to flow through there, and the fact that it is on a corner with access to both Pulaski Street and the extension, negates the need for any access. You know, if you're talking about what would it be? It would be for access to Chipotle and Lowe's, and there's a much safer, clearer access coming out of Pulaski through the access that already is existed in the back of Lowe's that accomplishes the same goal. And as Mr. Dunn agrees, any concerns that could exist or were raised in that access, state access plan, management plan, are addressed, you know, by the existing access and the flow of traffic going out back onto Pulaski. So I don't believe that the record here establishes any real necessity. And if it were opened, it would essentially compel Riverhead Bay Motors to reconsider its whole operation and to address that safety concern. It would create a liability issue for the dealership. But above all, they really would be concerned about that safety, and it would be a huge detriment and a negative impact on their business operations. So I'm going to ask Anthony just to touch on that and the operations for the record, and also Jeff is going to just hit home the necessity issue. So I'm going to ask them to come up right now and do that for.
Do you swear testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I'm Anthony Morrow. I'm the general manager for Riverhead Bay Motors. I've been at the store since 2007. We've been open since 1997. We moved to 1521 Old Country Road in 2003. A few years ago, we redesigned the store, and cross-access was spoken about, of course. But since Chipotle has moved in, a lot of traffic now goes through our parking lot, and people drive through rather fast. Our biggest concern is somebody's going to get hit one day walking through the parking lot. And if we open up this cross-access into the lot, it's just going to be further traffic into the lot and further danger to some of our customers who are walking through the lot looking at our displayed products. Just wanted to mention that the safety concern and the liability is part of our question about the whole change, okay, for the record. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, the car carriers, why are they unloading on Pulaski Street instead of on the lot?
I don't think they can access the lot with those large car carriers.
Because that seems to be a concern of the neighbors that live directly across the street. And I think that there should be a way to figure out how to unload those cars on the lot or somewhere else where it's safer, and because there is no shoulder there. And if this does get built, there's going to be curbs along there, and you know, it's going to be problematic because those car carriers are pretty big. It could take up a whole lane.
They are.
And then you have cars that are going around, and then you don't have a stop sign when you're headed southbound and then eastbound onto Pulaski Street. You know, if that car carrier is blocking up the whole westbound lane, it's problematic. So
Yeah.
what can you do to address that?
Well, before they were able to drive through the store, when we had the driveway between the two buildings, and now that driveway is no longer because the two stores are combined. They would have to back into our lot, and then that will cause traffic as well. By blocking Pulaski, trying to back into our lot, or pulling into our lot, they'll have to back out of the property. So I'm not really sure where else they could unload other than behind the store.
Well, I think that backing in would be like a temporary thing where it would back up traffic for a short period of time versus people trying to get around the car carriers and potentially going directly into oncoming traffic. So, you know, town roads are not supposed to be used for loading and unloading roads, or loading and unloading. So I would hope that you would address that before the town board has to create some sort of legislation that says no parking or standing in those zones, and your car carriers are getting ticketed.
Sure.
You know, the safety around that corner, as you've heard from my previous testimony, is of concern to me. And if those car carriers are parked on Pulaski Street near the intersection, it's going to exacerbate the problem.
Of course.
So I would appreciate you asking the carriers to back into
I'll
the
ask if they can
dealership
start backing into the lot,
Mhm.
take it from there.
and unloading there.
Sure.
I would
Okay.
think you wouldn't have objection to the access for emergency vehicles, so that was that was brought up.
As far as emergency vehicles being able to pass through there? No, we don't have any objection to emergency vehicles if that's what the board is proposing.
Yeah, they could put a
We
crash
have-
gate there for
Right.
fire vehicles and emergency vehicles.
Yeah, but we don't have a problem with that. Just vehicles traveling through there at high speed, that's gonna be the
Understood.
concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Swear testimony you're about to give, be truth and whole truth and nothing.
I do.
Whole truth, nothing but the health.
I do.
Yes, okay.
Gotcha. Jeff Lazarzik, R&M Engineering, with offices at 50 Elm Street, Huntington. I know the board has stated that our letter has become part of the record. I just want to reiterate our concern. We're not opposed to the application. We're opposed to the cross-access. A dealership is a different kind of retail than the Lowe's, Chipotle, and everything is to the east. You get out of your car, you go in, you do your thing, you come out. Dealerships, families are wandering around the parking lot, and the additional vehicles would be a safety concern to the people at the dealership. So I just want to get that on the record, and it's all stated in our report that we prepared for this as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, essentially, just to conclude, if the board is inclined to grant a permit, we would ask that in accordance with section 301, 312, that, and subdivision O, that you condition any approval on keeping that access closed. We certainly have no objection to the emergency access, the creation of a crash gate. That's fine. I think that would be a controlled access. It does seem like there is available access with the Riverhead Fire Department being where it is. The most likely route that they would take to address an emergency there is up Pulaski, and it's only about a 1-acre site, so they're coming in. Access is pretty available. However, we certainly would never oppose that. So I appreciate your time. I do appreciate, will the record be open for a bit just to address the recent submissions? Because
Should
we
be open
never
for
had an
10
opportunity to
days.
see.
We're gonna leave the record open until Friday, November 15th.
Excellent. Okay, great.
And just for, that's for written comment.
Written
The-
comment, no
this-
problem.
This portion, which is the taking of
Right,
testimony at
written
the podium, will be closed.
Absolutely, understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like there's nobody else coming up.
I think Karen also wanted to make some further comments, but this is like, I feel like I'm at a ping pong match.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just was taking a look at the plan, and I just noticed some things were changed that we really didn't discuss changing, such as the location of the loading area. Now it's right next to the exit for the car wash, and I don't think that's particularly appropriate. Since they put up this retaining wall, the dumpster location doesn't appear quite as appropriate as it was, because it's kind of in the driveway or closer to the driveway. And we had talked about putting in some sort of retaining wall planting bed, if I recall properly, to kind of screen the parking stalls along the extension, and I don't see that here. So I just wanted to mention that.
Now, Bob, if we leave it open for 10 days, will planning be able to address these issues since Karen's just seeing the revised site plan?
Well, in my mind, I'm questioning, are these special permit issues or site plan issues? That's my question.
The town board brought up the retaining wall planting bed.
Karen, you gotta come to the mic. And Jeff, can you come up? Jeff, you were saying something? No, not true.
The town board brought up the retaining wall planting bed issue, so that's the only reason I mentioned that. And I just wanted to, these may be site plan issues, but I just wanted to bring up that there were some changes made, that's all.
Jeff, can you come up? I just want to ensure that there's adequate time to address all these issues.
So, I'm sorry, what was the question?
I just wanna make sure there'll be adequate time for everyone to address the issue, since Karen just was
I
seeing
think
the.
certain things like dumpster location and screening, things like that, I mean, there is going to be a separate application for the site plan application before the planning board with a public hearing on the site plan with those elements. So I think there's gonna be more than an opportunity. The town board decision is based on a special permit. Obviously, there's some consideration in terms of cross-access, that sort of thing. I think that you want to address now, but I think some of the other issues can be deferred to the site plan application. This has always been the age-old question: does the town board get into site plan issues, or is that a function of the planning board? And that's an age-old question, and there's a fine line between one and the other.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
But I think if we left it open for 10 days, I think we can resolve the issues needed to
Well,
go
that's my
forward
question.
with this special permit application.
Okay. Mr. Dunn, I'm just wondering with the traffic study, the gentleman that's a resident there brought up the visibility issue. Did you look at that?
Sure,
That
we
was on-
did. We looked at it in reference to, the question that was posed to us was, with the grades along Pulaski Street, how does that impact the access point on Pulaski Street? So we went out and we did a site distance determination analysis, and the letter of May 22nd was the one that addresses the grades, the site distance at those points, and shows that it complies with the standard regulations. We share his concern, and we like the way the board addressed it, to see how they could move that operation to on-site, which would make the problem go away. So we would concur with what the town is trying to do there. The main point, first, it's always an honor to follow Jeff at the podium here, but we've done it in several towns together. But in essence, what I wanted to say was that the developer of the car wash now is ready to erect an emergency access gate in lieu of that easement point, that they would erect that if it complies with the town's concern about emergency access to the adjacent property, in lieu of having that easement open full-time, based upon the safety concerns that the board members have also expressed, and we also expressed too. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no other comments from the public or the board? I'm gonna close the public hearing, but leave it open for written comment until Friday, November 15th. And it is now 3:40, and I'd like to open the public hearing for the consideration of the proposed 2020 town budget with elected officials.
Don't all leave.
Bob, I think this is, I don't know that you need to announce and describe, I think this is pretty self-explanatory.
I would concur.
Yes.
So, I just have a question for Caitlin as to,
Caitlin, why don't you go ahead, right ahead and come up to the mic,
so,
or at least be near.
the town clerk's salary is $83,846. And then it has town clerk A, $5,000. What is that $5,000 for?
I'm sorry, where are you looking, Jody?
On the elected official salaries, the resolution that's before us.
I think that's for her to be the registrar.
That's correct,
Okay.
Okay.
That's correct.
which is
Yep, got it.
appropriate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Caitlin, maybe you could just stay nearby.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions from the public? Any more questions from the board?
Oh, somebody come
Oh,
up?
here we go.
Yep, we got it.
I thought I saw you back there, Keith.
I'm not sure whether this is the appropriate time to address
Need to be sworn in?
concerns
No,
of the
that's
ambulance.
only for the special permit.
All right.
With regard to this, there's no need to
Yeah,
be sworn in.
concerns of the ambulance corps on the ambulance district budget. Is this an appropriate time to discuss that?
No, that would be at the end of the meeting, but we did discuss it at work session, the $30,000 for the station at Jamesport, and I think it was agreed to by the majority of the board that we would take that out of fund balance and fund it.
Okay.
We talked about that at work session a couple times. It was actually helpful that you met with us.
Yeah, I would have gladly met with you at work session if allowed, but Anyway, we do have besides the tax district, there's also the negotiation of the ambulance budget for 2020, which I look forward to negotiating with the town board at a future work session. Because that wouldn't be something to be done here, but at a.
I have a question. Are you looking to have more in the budget for that purpose? Or is what's been budgeted sufficient?
The amount that's been budgeted is sufficient if it's reallocated, and then the ambulance corps, there are other sources of funding that could be made available to provide improved service to the district that we would like to discuss with the town board at an appropriate time.
All right, so it's just a matter of allocation then?
Correct.
I just want to clarify, because even though this is discussing the salaries that are established pursuant to town law, it is an opportunity to address issues that have been brought forth with the budget that's in front of the town board. So if there was changes needed to that, you could make those comments now, but if it's just a matter of allocation.
My understanding is, based on the conversation with the board members, that the things we discussed in our private meetings were approved by the majority, so would be affected, so that would have no effect on the total budget.
And the 30,000, the capital project fund, that 30,000 was allocated for the Wading River repeater, is what she was saying that money was needed for.
Yeah, I feel that's an inappropriate use of that money, because that money is coming from, essentially from the billing, which is supposed to be used for both long-term facility improvements, but also for improvement of operations. The town has a extremely large, for the budget size, capital reserve fund of in excess of $500,000, which is a more appropriate place to pull money from when you have an unexpected large expense that's not been budgeted for. So I think those are things that should be discussed, because there may be more appropriate use of medical billing money than to be using it for maintenance of facilities that actually should be part of normal maintenance. The radio repeater system is old and still needs work, and that should be something that should be discussed, but we shouldn't devote the income that the ambulance corps is working on to bring to the district to things which the district can easily fund with existing funds.
From the district instead of from the
Right.
ambulance corps billing.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that's something we can discuss certainly at work sessions. I'd appreciate it.
Well, I guess
Try and
that
get
came
you-
up because we had a problem with the repeater, right?
Yes, nothing gets fixed until it breaks.
Caitlin, did you want to address any of that, or you're good? Okay.
But I think what you're saying is that any repeaters or things like that should be used by should be paid for by the district out of fund balance and not out of ambulance billing.
Correct. If it can't be built into the budget, then we should look at, because we have maintained a very large fund balance, which can take care of these type of unexpected
Yes,
expenses.
it's doubled in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wanted to comment?
Is this on the, I mean, because this is noticed as the consideration of the proposed 2020 town budget with elected officials' salaries, so.
John? She's asking about how it was
The notice.
Yes, it was noticed with all the salaries of elected officials, as we always do at this public hearing for this time of year for the budget.
So it's not a public hearing for
Public Hearing
the,
for the 2020 budget and the elected official salaries. I believe we're required to notice the official salaries for the next year. I think Bob can confirm. So we take comments on the budget, we take comments on the elected official salaries, which are all a part of the same budget.
Yeah, the process is that the tentative budget
I guess the way it's written
gets
is what
put
I'm having a
forth
problem with.
by September 30th. Then the town board needs to call for a public hearing, which is the preliminary budget. So the public hearing we're in right now is the preliminary budget hearing. And then by November 20th, if there's no further changes, that'll become your adopted 2020 budget. So procedurally, by town law, that's the process. The public hearing is to address the budget that's been put forth, as well as give the public notice of the salaries that are set.
I
to
guess
follow.
then it should have probably been noticed that the consideration of the proposed 2020 town budget and elected official salaries, instead of with elected official salaries.
No, I
'cause
think this is the way we've always done it, and it's inclusive of the salaries, so the budgets are set forth in the budget. So I don't, I mean, if we want to parse words, I mean, I guess we could, but, you know, but it's, The public hearing is to hear the public as far as the budget that's going to be possibly changed if there are changes, but the preliminary budget, and again, the process is set forth by state law. It's tentative, September 30th. The town board then, it becomes part of the town board's budget, the preliminary budget, which goes to public hearing, and then the salaries have to be inclusive of that. The law requires that you give notice of all the
I
elected
understand that.
salaries. Okay.
I'm just saying the way it's written, it could be confusing that the public hearing is just on the town budget with elected official salaries. Well, not on here, it doesn't. So that's the one that was mailed, that was the one that was put in the paper?
What's yours say?
Hers says
Mine says and also.
And that's the one that was in the paper.
This says the consideration of the proposed 2020 town budget with elected official salaries.
Mine says and. Okay, well, if that be the case, I just want to reiterate what I've talked about in work session in regards to the budget, where I'm asking to take approximately $135,000 out of the general or capital improvement fund and split that up and use that to add in addition to the one new code enforcement officer that is provided for in the budget. I want to add another one for a total of 2, and I want to have a part-time clerk assigned to code enforcement and a part-time paralegal to assist with the Supreme Court cases that we plan on bringing to action. So that's just my statement on the budget itself. I presented it and at work session, and I'm reiterating that that's what I still want to do.
Are there any other comments from the public?
No, just the ambulance corps' comments about the appropriations and the allocations in the district's budget that they had concerns about, and inviting them to a work session to discuss those publicly. And the $30,000 to come from the fund balance to go into the ambulance corps this year, so that they, in 2020, so that they could fund that station at the Jamesport Firehouse, and possible opening of the contract to increase the contract amount by the $30,000, so that that could be funded every year subsequent to.
All right, seeing no other comments, I'm gonna close the public hearing and leave it open for written comment until Friday, November 15th. Would anyone like to comment on resolutions at this time?
This is when Jim says don't do it.
Okay, seeing no one else, seeing no one to comment, we're gonna move on to resolutions.
Okay, so you're reading Wooten's?
Yeah, I'll read Jim's.
Okay, resolution 793.
A resolution ratifying bond resolution dated and duly adopted on March 19th, 2019. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 794.
Budget adjustment, NERP Holdings Tractor Supply Company, installation of water mains and appurtenances, Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Moved
Seconded.
Oops, sorry. Sorry, Tim. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes, and I'm mad I don't have my camera to take a picture of Denise right now.
This resolution is adopted. Resolution 795.
Calverton Sewer District budget transfer. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 796.
Highway Department budget transfer, so moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 797.
General fund budget transfers. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 798.
Authorizes the release of one-year maintenance security of Mastro Realty, Vincenzo Mastronardi, in connection with the major subdivision known as Map of Mastro Realty. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 799.
Adopts a local law amending Chapter 217 entitled Buildings, Building Construction, and Improvements in Housing Standards of the Riverhead Town Code, Part 5, Housing Standards. So moved.
Seconded? Moved and seconded, vote please.
Ken?
I think that this is a great start and gives us tools to fight against the landlords. So I vote yes.
Hubbard?
No, I think this still needs some more work.
Giglio?
I agree with the higher fines for the landlords, but I do not agree with the inconsistencies in the code as far as the square footage for the number of people that can occupy. I think that we should eliminate Chapter 217, which was adopted in the 60s, and instead of trying to tweak it and make it better, I think that we should just adopt the Property and Building Maintenance Code for New York State and take other recommendations that were made by our code enforcement officers into consideration and go back out for public hearing before adopting something haphazardly. So I'm gonna vote no also.
So this resolution is not adopted.
I'm just gonna comment 1 minute on that. I think there have been inconsistencies with our code and the state code already for about 10 years. I actually think our code will now be stronger, and I think as a town board that we have tough decisions to make. Sometimes that's what we're elected for, to draw policy, and that sometimes we have to make hard decisions.
I don't think it's a hard decision. It's just that if we change from the state code, we have to petition the state in order to do that. And to me, this is something we want to start working on right now, as it's a major concern. And I'm not looking to delay this. I am in favor of increasing the fines by all means, but until we come together with the state law as opposed to us putting something in and then having to petition the state, it's a timely process to get a response from them and approval from them. I want to hit the ground running with this and get going, and I think the state law is adequate and does what we want it to do.
I think this is stronger than the state law, and I think, you know, in response to the public, this is something that our public has been asking for, and, you know, let's face it, we have problems with a lot of landlords, and we need to get moving on this, and I think that this is very necessary, and I'm disappointed
And
that you're delaying it.
And I think that code enforcement and the town attorney that brings these Supreme Court actions and injunctions should have been part of the process in creating the legislation instead of it being drafted in the middle of the night and being presented to them and asking them to come back less than 4 business hours later to discuss it with the town board when they hadn't even had a chance to read it or digest it. So I think that it should have been done in full participation with code enforcement and with the attorneys that bring the actions to court, and not done by one town attorney and presented to everybody at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday and have them asked to come and speak to us at 10 a.m. on a Thursday morning about what they felt about the legislation. We did get several emails from code enforcement saying about the inconsistencies and things that needed to be addressed in it with recommendations, and those recommendations were not considered. And these are people that we're asking to go out in the street and enforce the code. I think they should have been part of the process, and they weren't.
Well, once again, it's our job, you know, to make difficult decisions, and sometimes we can do that because we make policy, and this was worked on by the deputy town attorney, who works very hard, is very knowledgeable, and does her research. So
I look forward to the rewrite.
I'm
right away.
It's unfortunate that we're delaying it, but we'll move on.
We're not delaying it. If it goes to the state for their approval to petition them, you're talking a year. That's a delay.
Bob, is
This
that
is
true?
2 weeks later.
Under, Executive Law Article 18 does indicate that anytime that a municipality is looking to do something that's inconsistent or in conflict with the Uniform Code, they are required to seek permission from the State Codes Division 4.
And that would hold up moving forward?
It would impair our ability to move forward if it's more stringent than the state code.
I still would prefer to move forward with it, but, okay, let's go, Julie.
Resolution 800.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing to consider a proposed local law for an amendment of Chapter 273 entitled Solid Waste, Article 2, solid waste generated at residences located with solid waste districts. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes to the public hearing.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 801.
Appointment of member to Veterans Advisory Committee. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes, and I'd like to thank Mike for stepping up, and I'm always appreciative of all our volunteers on these committees.
Hubbard?
Ditto, absolutely correct, yes.
Giglio?
I can't think of anybody better at this time to add to the Veterans Advisory Committee, which I'm the liaison to. He's very supportive of all of our veterans and all the great events that take place in town for our veterans. Yes.
Yes, he is.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 802.
Attendance of one police department employee to the Evidence Room Management Training Course. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Well, anytime we can get training, I'm always pleased about it.
Hubbard?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 803.
Authorizes attendance at New England Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission training course. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
And this is training for the sewer department employees. I vote yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 804.
Authorizes a fire marshal to attend a national certification conference. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Another training class, this one for the fire marshal. I vote yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 805.
Ratifies the appointment of a call-in minibus driver. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 806.
Appoints a wastewater treatment plant operator trainee. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 807.
Appoints part-time police officers and places them on a leave of absence. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
And welcome aboard to Rachel and Joseph. I vote yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Off to the academy. Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 908.
Appoints a personnel assistant. So
808.
moved.
Resolution 808.
808.
Yeah.
908.
Sorry.
I'll say it again. Appoints a personnel assistant. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
I'm very excited to bring Dion Marshak on board in this new position. I vote yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 809.
Appoints call-in recreation staff to the Recreation Department. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 810.
Amends resolution number 2019-603. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes, this is requested by the town engineer. It's to keep an employee that we've had on for the year while we have another employee returning from leave. Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 811.
Amends resolution number 2019-733. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Same thing as I said last time. Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 812.
Awards bid for senior department minibuses. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 813.
Award printing of recreation brochure bid. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 814.
Authorization to reject bids and rebid for charter coach transportation 2019 through 2020. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 815.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for water service materials. So moved.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
You seconded it first, right, and then you move in second. I don't think we got a second there.
Seconded?
Second and then move, vote.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 816.
Authorizes notice to bidders, installation of groundwater monitoring wells at various locations, Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 817.
Authorizes supervisor to execute change order number 1, installation of water mains and appurtenances, Georgica Green, Riverview Lofts, 221 East Main Street, Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 818.
Authorizes supervisor to execute time and material change order number 2, installation of water mains and appurtenances, Wellbridge Care Center, Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Moved and,
Seconded.
moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 819.
Authorizes supervisor to execute change order number 1, installation of water mains and appurtenances, NERP Holdings, Tractor Supply Company, Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 820.
Authorizes supervisor to execute agreement with SUSA Soccer Training LLC for training and referee services for the town of Riverhead Police Athletic League Girls and Boys Soccer Program for the 2019 calendar year. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 821.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with the Riverhead Business Improvement District Management Association, Incorporated, regarding 2019 calendar year events and services nunc-pro-tunc. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 822.
Authorize supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with Studio AB Architects for conversion of the Benjamin Barn to ceramic studio. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
I'm excited to get this work going on the Benjamin Barn. I vote yes.
Hubbard?
Yeah, this has been quite a while coming around, and I definitely vote yes for this.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 823.
Authorizes legal actions against the owners, tenants, occupants, and mortgagee of premises located at 1050 Harrison Avenue, Riverhead, New York. So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 824.
Pledges a $5,000 match to DEC Recycling Education Grant. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
I did get the budget, yes.
This resolution's adopted. Resolution 825.
Accepts money donation from the Titan Run for Veterans Memorial Park improvements. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes. Thank you.
Giglio?
Yes. Thank you.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 826.
Pays the bills. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Kent?
Yes.
Hubbard?
Yes.
Giglio?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
Okay, at this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the board.
Don't all run up at once.
I know. Seeing no one, can I have a first and second to close the town board meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Vote please.
And
Hubbard?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
And to all of our veterans, we celebrate Veterans Day next week. God bless you and thank you for your service,
Yes.
past and present. Thank you.
I ditto to all of that. Thank you, Tim.
I meant to say that. I forgot that.